Hello my astrology friends, this is Lada from astrolada.com and these are your May 2023 video horoscopes for the 12 signs. And this month is big, and the three big events that are happening is the lunar eclipse in Scorpio, after that Mercury turning direct, and Jupiter moving for the first time in 12 years in Taurus. We'll speak about each three of those events, how they affect each of the 12 signs, and of course the eclipse being the most important one will affect only those that have a planet within 2-3 degrees of the eclipse itself, but also whatever house it affects. But to know this, how exactly any of this will affect you, it's best not just to watch those videos, but to check your personal transits on my personal transit calendar, which I've created for you. It's for free every 7 days. It updates itself, or you can buy for $6 just a whole month to see absolutely all the transits that you have ahead, how each transit will affect you specifically. No transit ever affects another person in the world the same way like you, or at the same time, unless you have a twin born within 1 minute of you. Then no one else in the world will have the same influences at the same time like you. That's why your personal transits are so much more important than those general videos, which can still give you an idea, but more specifically, use that tool I have created for you. It's so affordable, and for most people use it for free. We have 70,000 approximately people using it daily. Anyway, let's look ahead, because what will happen with the 12 signs. Gemini, Sun, Moon, Rising, May 2023. Gemini, the month starts with an eclipse on the 5th or 6th, depends where in the world, in Scorpio. And that's one of the last ones on this axis of Scorpio, Taurus. And this eclipse is a bit rough, because Scorpio is a sign that is a bit ruthless, but it doesn't directly very much, doesn't affect you directly. Look, it's like far away from you. This is your Gemini. Unless you have planets in Taurus, then it can affect you. You can see that by checking your transits on my personal transit calendar, which is for free. Every 5 to 7 days it renews yourself, or you can order the whole month ahead to see if the eclipse directly affects you, and to see all your other transits for a month, which you might have 200-300 of them per month, or 50-60, depends. Anyway, this eclipse in Gemini, for Gemini, is in the 6th house, and most of you probably will not feel it. Nothing important will happen, but because it triggers a house in your horoscope, we have to say what are possible developments are there. So the 6th house is connected to health and health habits. In some extreme cases, for some of you, it can mean some kind of a crisis connected to health that is trying to wake you up to changing something. And especially because this eclipse in Scorpio is with the South Node, it might ask you to release something in the 6th house of health habits and routines, and bad habits in particular. It might be, and Scorpio is a great sign of expression, letting go of. So it might be time that, and as I said, eclipses can trigger it through some kind of small crisis, that you awaken to something you have to release. And the 6th house is about especially habits of any sorts. Are you slouching when you walk, or are you not having a right posture that you have to release and let go of? Are you smoking? Are you drinking? Are you eating or not exercising, or whatever it is, health-wise routines that you do? This South Node eclipse can help you release it. And because it's the lunar eclipse, something coming to an end, to a completion, and it's part of it is Uranus. Uranus is conjunct the sun opposite the moon, which means that it can happen very suddenly. So it can cut cords with such self-medicating habits or unhealthy habits of lifestyle as well, choices. 6th house is also the house of work. Another way it can play out is that you can suddenly part with an employee. If you have employees, 6th house is your employee, so someone that comes to do something at your home, a contractor or whatever, that's helping you, whatever. So Uranus, this eclipse with Uranus can suddenly end the relationship with a colleague or employee or someone at work, and especially someone who's been toxic, or who's been a relationship that's been a bit predatory or not very wholesome. So you can add and such. There might be some crisis that happens there. For some of you, with a colleague, someone in your work environment, that triggers you to change something in your work as well. Or sixth house is overall your work. So this can be indication that within a few weeks to 1-2 months of that period, or even a month before, you can change your job. It's as simple as that for some of you. And you can let go of a job that his house outplayed its role in your life, which is what kind of the South Node is about, and release it. Or it can also mean some kind of changes happening in your work environment as well. And it might be that you've been working on some project till now, and the full moon eclipse allows you to see the results of it, and they're important, and there might be something that needs, you become aware that has to be done, or whatever, that takes your focus for a little bit because of this eclipse. So that's some of the ways it can play out. Unless, of course, you have specific planets in Taurus like Venus or Mercury, then it can be a totally different theme for you, like something important with relationship happening, or whatever, or even yourself if it's Mercury, if you have Mercury in Taurus. But that's your specific horoscope. You need to check for it your specific transits, basically, from the transit calendar that I've created for you. Then the other big event is that Mercury is turning direct, and that's you. Mercury is you, Gemini. It's turning direct in the 12th house on the 14th of May. So if you've had some complications with communications, with transportation, with devices, with internet, with media, with social media, with communications, maybe someone said something and that got out of hand, someone said something behind your back, finding out some secrets with Mercury in the 12th house, some private conversations, some private communications that might have been happening as well while Mercury is in the 12th house. So maybe displacing something, or being a little bit more, because Mercury is you in the 12th house, feels a bit more confused, feels a little bit more lost, it feels a little bit more absent-minded. Being there, it's like a bit of a brain fog. And when Mercury starts turning direct, hopefully by the middle of the month, but especially towards the end, when it leaves the 12th house, you can become more clear-headed. So I would say after the 20th onwards, you can start being more clear-headed, more present, not so spaced out. If you've lost something, if you've displaced something, as well, maybe you're able to restore those things, or to overcome such issues. And if there are certain expenses, because 12th house rules expenses, while Mercury is in the 12th house retrograde, when it turns direct, those things again should get themselves sorted out and improve and start moving forward. There might have been a period till Mercury is retrograde till the middle of a month, and a little bit further on as well, of a retrospection kind of energy because of this 12th house retrograde Mercury, thinking on the past, looking within yourself, maybe being focused on more mystical, spiritual, or psychological topics. You see, this May, it's a little bit, especially till the 20th of May, it's a little bit more, this axis is triggered for you with the eclipse, which is 6th house, and all the planets in the 12th house. It's not so much, it's kind of a bit more difficult axis, which is, taking care of health and work. The 6th house and 12th house is connected to letting go of things, the past, mental health, that you can be focused on, or being more isolated, which is okay. If you feel like spending more time alone, especially till around the 20th of May, 21st, 22nd, till the sun enters your sign, you might feel more like withdrawing, like taking time alone, and sometimes even people might feel more predisposed to kind of when the planets are activating the 12th house, the willpower doesn't feel so strong, and it feels like whatever you're doing, things are out of your control a little bit, like you're swayed in the ocean. And it's okay. This is the 12th house of powers beyond yourself, powers that were put into action in previous lifetimes, or they're beyond your scope of control, more collective energies. And so trying to understand them is a bit difficult, or trying to control them is almost impossible. So it's very good to be adaptable till the 20th of May, to go with the flow, to be willing if there is some, whatever the universe throws you, to kind of flow with it rather than try to resist and have things done your way. And you're great at that. You're Gemini. You don't have the stubbornness, that other people have. You're quite versatile, so you're good at this. But it is important to be flexible till that time, and to take a break, to rest more with this 12th house of sleeping, rest, or even go on a holiday far away, or distant place, for example, or just spend more time meditating or escaping reality. 12th house is like very much like, go eat an ice cream and watch Netflix, or succumb a bit to your addictions. 12th house is like to your self-soothing behaviors, which is again connected to 12th house, 6th house axis. I'm not saying do it, but because Mercury retrograde can ask you to reconsider such behaviors, to become more mindful and deliberate about them as well. But there is this theme about that, and then you'll start after the 21st, 22nd of May, you're going to start coming into your power, Gemini, because Mercury is already turning direct. It's turned direct. You start feeling like more clear-headed. The sun is starting to enter your sign. Your life force starts coming back. You feel more energized. Plus, from around the, let me see exactly which date is, the 19th, the 20th again, Mars enters a sign, fire sign. So definitely will start putting, and that's one of your social houses. So it will make you more busy. Till then, maybe things are slower, or maybe you might feel like they're more sabotaged behind the scenes, more escapist tendencies. But after that, after May the 20th, with Mars entering your 3rd house and the sun starting to come out of your 12th house, and Mercury, little by little, you're going to start feeling more energized, more active with others, socially more involved. And with Mars entering for a month and a half your 3rd house, you can start doing short trips or communicating on a daily basis. Your daily activities and environment becomes busier, reading more, writing, communicating, exchanging information, busy, some administration, business. It's good for any kind of activities, any competitive activities. 3rd house is competitive house. You can become competitive overall. You can get more involved with others. For business is good, and so on. For learning, for activities. But let's focus on the last important things that's going to happen, is that Jupiter will enter your 12th house. Jupiter is finishing a cycle, and actually from the 16th of May, it enters your 12th house, and it will stay there for a year. And what does it mean? Let's see specifically. Well, Jupiter transits once every 12 years, your 12th house. And Jupiter is a benefic, so wherever it goes, it will help the affairs of that house. And 12th house is a house of foreign countries, for example. When my husband had Jupiter transiting the 12th house from his ascendant, was the first time he left the States and had a month and a half Europe trip with me. So for some of you, it can mean that over the next 1 year, you'll get the green card, even to relocate abroad, to travel to foreign places, to go to places you don't know the language, where it feels like places you've never been is the 12th house, to faraway places, or even to relocate there and something like that, to talk with foreigners, because Jupiter rules one of your social houses, the 7th house of other people. Moving into the 12th house, for some of you, can mean a relationship with a foreigner. It might be a business relationships, because 7th house rules business partnerships, or contractual relationship of some sort, or it might be a romantic, kind of a committed relationship of some sort with someone foreign or someone very different than you, the 12th house. Some of it can mean private relationship. 12th house has these indications of something behind the scene. The 12th house is the enemy, the 6th from the 7th, the enemy of the marriage. So lovers are indicated in the 12th house. Jupiter there, I don't know. I'm just saying, not all Gemini are going to have an affair, whatever. But it's a possibility. One of the possible indications is that you can have some private affair for some of you. Or it can mean, if you're in a committed relationship and you love your partner, that you can include in your relationship some kind of a foreign travel, because the ruler of the seventh house, to renew the relationship to some foreign travel. Role playing is the 12th house as well. Some kind of oh, don't get involved in addictions for sure, hopefully not that. But the 12th house in Vedic astrology is bed pleasures, because it rules the bed and what you do privately. So it is connected to sex. So they say that when Jupiter transits the 12th house, your sex life should improve. I haven't watched that particularly, but I think I've observed definitely in my husband's chart. That's when it happened. So that's a possibility that your sex life improves there. The 12th house is the house of the hidden bed pleasures, and any kind of things that you do in the bed chamber. And I've seen sometimes this and bed chamber or alone time is the 12th house. So Jupiter can expand your desire to spend more time alone in it's private relationships or alone time. And it can expand your imagination is the 12th house, the connection to the invisible world. So if you're a music writer, novel writer, someone who writes code for computer games, anyone who is a creative or inspiration, that needs an inspiration, that needs some kind of alone time to create something, Jupiter can definitely expand the joy and the output from such activities. Like you can write a lot more songs now or paint a lot more. And that's an inspirational, but you get it by having alone time. So Jupiter will give you the opportunity to have this alone time. And you'd really like revel more, enjoy alone time when Jupiter is in your 12th house. Time in nature, it's in Taurus. Give yourself, I know Gemini is a busy bee, likes to be surrounded by others. You would always, it's important for you, this part of your path in life, even if it's just like one or two relatives or one or two friends. It's important to have exchanges, but with Jupiter in your 12th house, they can be more private now, or with someone from far away, like in a distant way, like online or something like that. Or you definitely will feel more, you get a lot more joy in alone time, in nature. 12th house can be nature, especially connected to oceans as well, and creativity in any sorts. But 12th house also has its dark undertones, which is hidden vices, anything we'll do privately that we don't want others to know. Is it using drugs? Is it watching porn? Is it spending on gambling? These are those self-undoing habits as well. Unfortunately, sometimes Jupiter can expand those, especially in Taurus, a sign that is predisposed to bohemian, not bohemian, but kind of to Taurus likes to please itself, to enjoy itself. So this kind of are you using food to enjoy yourself, or to kind of to self-soothe yourself emotionally? These tendencies can expand for some of you. Any kind of self-soothing tendencies or escapism tendencies, can be expanded initially with this 1-year transit of Jupiter in the 12th house. But the other side of Jupiter as the benefic is that it brings awareness and understanding of something. So even if it expands such behaviors initially, if you consciously though want to overcome these states of self-sabotaging, you can have success. You can have psychological breakthrough and healing. You can really see the lie involved in addictions or self-sabotaging behaviors. You can break through because Jupiter shows you a higher perspective, and especially with such things, you can release such kind of bad habits or self-sabotaging behaviors or hidden vices, as we call them, by seeing the trap of it, by seeing that the door of the prison is actually open and you're holding yourself there. So some kind of miraculous, spontaneous kind of recoveries or release of something that is holding you back. And Jupiter, and it's not only about addictions, the 12th house, it can be any states of consciousness and mind that are holding you prisoner. So it's about, sometimes I actually have seen Jupiter transiting the 12th house, literally have a person come out of addiction, which is a type of a prison, or come out of prison. I've seen a person be freed from a prison or any prison-like situations, baby jail, whatever. When Jupiter enters the 12th house, and usually it's some psychological release that you realize, as I explained to you. So it's kind of some psychological healing. The 12th house is connected with psychology, astrology, anything to do that gives you answers to the secrets of the souls, any mystical teaching studies or soulful psychological studies. So any kind of research, even scientific, is the 12th house, because you spend a lot of time alone researching in deep meditative state. Research like go someone in a laboratory, they're daily in a meditative state. You don't need to be Buddhist meditating under the tree to learn meditative states. People that are researchers do it, people that are painters, writers, musicians, that spend time alone in isolated environment, focusing on something. This is meditation. That's actually the high level of meditation. So you don't like, I personally don't like just meditating, not doing anything. I enter meditative states this way. And Jupiter transit in the 12th house helps you especially get into the zone there, and to kind of shift the level of consciousness you're on. So externally you might not see many big changes in your life, unless of course you have planets in Taurus. Personally, again, you can see this from the transit calendar. You can open it for a year ahead and see what Jupiter transits you're gonna have. But usually when Jupiter transits the 12th house for the next 12 months, it's improval of your mental state, your psychological state of mind, seeing things, healing the soul, feeding the soul spiritually, maybe even retreating a little bit more from the world to take care of the soul and to have internal healings as well. And as I said, materially, it can mean spending more, and it can also mean higher knowledge of some sort, like deep research and study. Higher, your spirituality can definitely increase, your intuition, or you can sleep better when Jupiter is in the 12th house as well. And or you can just get a bigger bed and a bigger bedroom. It can be as simple as that. 12th house is beds and better mattress, or finally being able to sleep better for some of you. So thank you so much. Or you can just gain access to the invisible realms. If you're at that level, you can basically be able to pierce through the veil, or get messages from invisible sources, or even get the best psychic or astrology reading of your world that gives you in your life, that gives you such an insight. So thank you so much, Gemini, and have a great May and a year ahead.